The morning sun peeked through the curtains, casting a warm glow over the room. I stirred awake, stretching my arms above my head and letting out a contented sigh. Today was my birthday, my special day. I could almost feel the excitement buzzing in the air, the promise of joy and celebration lingering just out of reach. I rolled over, glancing at the clock. It was still early, but I hoped the kids would remember to call before they headed off to work. I had set my expectations high, dreaming of heartfelt messages and perhaps even a surprise visit. As I shuffled to the kitchen, I felt a flutter of anticipation. I brewed a pot of coffee, the rich aroma filling the air, and glanced around the kitchen. I'd set out my favorite mug, the one decorated with cheerful daisies, and arranged a small bouquet of flowers I had bought for myself on the table. I was determined to make this birthday special, even if it was just for me. Just as I poured my first cup, my phone buzzed on the counter. I picked it up eagerly, but my heart sank when I saw the caller ID. My son Alan. "Happy birthday, Mom," he said, his voice bright but hurried. "I just wanted to call before work. Can't talk long though. Things are crazy today." "Thank you, sweetheart. I'm just glad to hear from you. Any chance you and Sophia can come by later?" I asked, hoping for at least a brief visit. "Oh, we were planning to go to that new cafe after work. Maybe we can stop by tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," I echoed, trying to mask my disappointment. "That sounds fine. Just don't forget, okay?" "Of course, we love you. Enjoy your day." With that, the line went dead. As I hung up, I felt a lump form in my throat. A quick call, a promise of tomorrow. Was that all I could expect from my children? I poured the rest of my coffee and took a deep breath, trying to shake off the feeling of sadness creeping in. Maybe I was just being dramatic. After all, they had their lives to live. Around noon, my phone rang again. It was David. "Hey babe, happy birthday." His voice was muffled, and I could hear the clatter of dishes in the background. "Thanks, David. I was hoping to celebrate today," I said, forcing a cheerful tone. "Yeah, about that. I'm swamped at work. Can we maybe do something this weekend instead? I'm barely getting through lunch right now." I sighed, trying to suppress my frustration. "Sure, I guess we can wait. It's my birthday." "I know. I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you. I promise." "Yeah, okay," I replied, disappointment weighing heavy in my chest. I knew his work often took precedence, but today, all days, I wished for something more. "Talk later, okay?" he said before hanging up. Once again, I found myself alone, staring at the clock. I felt a deep ache of loneliness settle in. As I moved to the living room, I began to rearrange some of the birthday decorations I had set up. They felt more like a reminder of what I had hoped for than a celebration of the day itself. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, jolting me from my thoughts. I rushed to the door, my heart racing. Maybe it was the kids after all. When I opened it, however, I was met by my mother-in-law, Galina, and my sister-in-law, Nana. "Surprise! We're here to celebrate," Galina exclaimed, stepping inside with a big smile. "Oh, wow, I didn't expect you," I said, feeling my stomach drop. Nina chimed in. "We thought we'd come by to help you celebrate. It's been too long since we've all gotten together." "Right, how lovely," I said, forcing a smile. I stepped aside, letting them in, but I couldn't shake the sense of disappointment that clung to me like a wet blanket. This wasn't how I envisioned my birthday. As I led them to the living room, I could already feel the day slipping further from my grasp. "Where's David?" Galina asked, glancing around the room. "Oh, he's at work," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "He'll join us later." "Well, let's make the most of it," Nana said, plopping down on the couch, her enthusiasm contagious but also overwhelming. "Yeah, let's do that," I echoed weakly, my heart still yearning for the quiet birthday I had envisioned. As they settled in, I couldn't help but feel a mix of gratitude and frustration. Today was supposed to be mine, yet here I was, a host to guests I hadn't planned for. The day continued to unfold, and I knew I had to put on a brave face, even if my heart wasn't in it. The laughter and chatter of my mother-in-law and sister-in-law filled the living room, but all I could think about was David. I busied myself in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for a salad I hadn't planned on making. Each slice of the knife mirrored the growing disappointment in my heart, a reminder of the birthday celebration I'd envisioned, just the two of us, sharing a special meal, possibly even a slice of cake together. The scent of garlic and olive oil began to mingle with the memories of the past, where David had made my birthdays feel magical. I longed for that feeling again. Instead, I glanced at the clock, noting how the hands seemed to crawl painfully slow. "Need any help in there, Amelia?" Nana called from the living room, her voice breaking through my thoughts. "No, I'm okay, just making some salad," I replied, forcing a smile. A few moments later, I heard my phone buzz on the counter. I wiped my hands on a dish towel and grabbed it, hoping it was David calling to tell me he was on his way home. But when I saw his name on the screen, a mix of excitement and dread washed over me. "Hey, babe," I answered, trying to keep my tone light. "Hey. Sorry to bother you again," David said, his voice slightly strained. "I'm still at the office, and I'm not sure when I'll be able to leave. It's been one of those days, you know." My heart sank. "You mean you can't come home at all?" "I really don't think so. I've got a meeting scheduled for later, and I can't push it back. I'll make it up to you, I promise." "David, it's my birthday," I said, feeling the frustration bubble up. "I was really hoping we could celebrate tonight." "I know, and I'm really sorry. I'll bring home something nice for dinner, okay? Maybe your favorite?" His voice was earnest, but I could hear the exhaustion in it. "Sure, that'll be fine," I said, trying to mask my disappointment. "You're really going to miss out on the fun with the family. I'll make it up to you this weekend. Just try to enjoy your time with Galina and Nina, okay? I love you." "I love you too," I replied, but my voice lacked the enthusiasm I usually felt. After hanging up, I leaned against the counter, staring into the bowl of chopped vegetables. A wave of frustration washed over me. How had it come to this? Another birthday overshadowed by work, by obligations, and now by my unexpected guests. I felt so alone in that moment, even with family around me. I returned to the living room, forcing a smile as I took my place on the couch. "What did David say?" Galina asked, her eyes bright with curiosity. "He's caught up at work. He might not make it home tonight," I said, trying to sound casual but knowing the disappointment was evident in my tone. "Oh, that's too bad. We'll just have to make sure you have a wonderful time without him," Galina said, her voice cheerful but her gaze slightly concerned. "Right," I replied, my mind elsewhere. "I'm sure we'll manage." As the evening wore on, we sat around the dining table, filled with an array of dishes I had prepared in a rush. The laughter continued, but it felt hollow. I forced myself to engage in conversation, but part of me remained distant, wishing David could be there to share this moment. "So, Amelia, any exciting plans for the weekend?" Nana asked, her fork poised above her plate. Just the usual," I replied, the words tumbling out before I could think. "David and I were planning to celebrate my birthday then, if he's not too busy." "Oh, that's nice. A weekend birthday party sounds wonderful," Galina chimed in, completely missing the edge in my voice. "Yeah, I guess," I murmured, my heart aching at the thought of waiting another couple of days to celebrate a day that should have been mine. The doorbell rang, and for a brief moment, hope flickered in my chest. Maybe it was David, finally able to break free from his work commitments. I jumped up and rushed to the door, but when I opened it, it was just the delivery guy with a bouquet of flowers. "Delivery for Amelia," he said, handing me the vibrant arrangement. "Wow, who are these from?" I asked, taking the flowers, feeling a glimmer of joy at their beauty. "Can't say, ma'am, just the delivery," he replied, smiling before leaving. As I turned to show Galina and Nina the flowers, my heart sank again when I realized David wasn't behind me. The disappointment crept back, heavier than before. Those are lovely, Nana exclaimed, leaning in to get a closer look. Yeah, they are, I said, trying to shake off the feeling of longing. I arranged the flowers in a vase, their colors brightening up the kitchen, but it felt like they were just a distraction from my unfulfilled expectations. With David still at work, I couldn't help but feel that no amount of flowers or family could fill the void of his absence. As the evening wore on, I did my best to keep the conversation light, laughing along with Galina and Nina. But deep inside, I was counting down the hours until I could finally be alone with my thoughts, and perhaps shed the weight of a birthday that was anything but what I had hoped for. The aroma of roasted chicken and freshly baked bread filled the kitchen, mingling with the vibrant colors of the bouquet I had just arranged. I tried to focus on the meal, hoping to drown out the disappointment that had settled in my heart. As I placed the dishes on the table, laughter from Galina and Nina echoed in the living room, but their cheerful voices only served as a reminder of the absence I felt. Just as I was about to call them for dinner, the doorbell rang again. I glanced at the clock, surprised to see it was still early evening. Perhaps it was David, finally finished with work. My heart raced with the thought. Let me get that. I called out to Galina and Nina, who were busy chatting about their day. I opened the door, and my heart sank. There stood my mother-in-law, Galina, and my sister-in-law, Nina, both with wide smiles on their faces and hands full of gifts. Surprise, Galina exclaimed, stepping past me into the living room. We thought we'd bring a little something to celebrate. Yeah, we figured a birthday needs more than just a phone call. Nina added, grinning as she followed Galina inside. Wow, you guys, I said, struggling to mask my surprise and dismay. I wasn't expecting you. Galina glanced around the living room, taking in the decorations I had put up. Well, we wanted to make sure you had a proper birthday. We drove down just for you. Right, that's thoughtful of you, I replied, forcing a smile while trying to process the sudden change in plans. This wasn't how I had imagined my birthday would go. Where's David? Nana asked, looking around with curiosity. He's still at work, I said, my voice lacking enthusiasm. He may join us later. Oh, don't worry about that, Galina chimed in, setting down the gifts on the table. We're here to celebrate you, whether he's around or not. I took a deep breath, trying to quell the feelings of disappointment swirling inside me. I knew I should be grateful for their company, but all I could think about was David's absence. Let's get to the food, I suggested, hoping to shift the focus away from David. I made your favorite, Galina. As we gathered around the table, I served the meal, each dish filled with effort and care. Despite my reservations, I tried to immerse myself in the moment, but it felt forced. I glanced at the empty seat where David would normally sit, and a sense of longing washed over me. Wow, Amelia, this looks amazing, Nina exclaimed, taking a bite of the roasted chicken. You always know how to impress us. Thanks. I wanted to make it special, even if it's just a small gathering, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Galina raised her glass. To our wonderful daughter-in-law. May this year bring you all the happiness you deserve. I smiled politely, lifting my glass to clink with theirs. Cheers, I said, but the cheer felt hollow. I could feel the weight of the day pressing down on me, stifling the joy I was supposed to feel. As we settled into dinner, the conversation flowed easily. Galina shared stories from her day, and Nana chimed in with her latest family drama. I smiled and laughed along, but my mind drifted. Have you heard from David today? Galina asked, catching me off guard. He's been swamped at work, I replied, forcing a smile. He had a big meeting. Isn't it always work? Nana said, shaking her head. You know, you should really tell him to take a break once in a while. It's your birthday after all. I know, but he loves his job, I replied, trying to defend him despite my frustrations. He just has a lot on his plate right now. Still, birthdays are important. He should be here, Galina said, her brow furrowing with concern. You deserve to be celebrated, Amelia. Don't let him brush it aside. I nodded, grateful for their support, but it only deepened my feelings of inadequacy. Shouldn't I feel more appreciated on my special day? As the meal continued, I tried to engage with them, laughing at their jokes and pretending everything was fine. But the emptiness of the moment gnawed at me, pulling me further away from the festive atmosphere they were trying to create. After dinner, I excused myself to the kitchen to tidy up, needing a moment alone to gather my thoughts. I filled the sink with soapy water and began washing the dishes, letting the warm water soothe my frustration. Need any help? Nina called from the dining room, her voice full of concern. I've got it. Really. Just a minute, I replied, grateful for the offer but needing this brief escape. As I washed, I thought about how much I wanted David here, how I had dreamed of us enjoying this day together, just the two of us. Instead, I was surrounded by family who meant well, but didn't fill the void I felt in his absence. When I finally returned to the living room, I put on a brave face. What did I miss? I asked, trying to rejoin the cheerful conversation. Oh, just planning our next family get-together, Galina said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I forced a smile, feeling the weight of their enthusiasm crashing against my own subdued spirit. That sounds great, I said, even though I had no idea how I would find the energy to keep hosting gatherings that left me feeling empty. As the evening drew on, I kept reminding myself to be grateful for their presence. But deep inside, the yearning for David's company lingered, making it hard to fully embrace the unexpected celebration that had unfolded before me. The sound of clinking glasses and laughter filled the room as I stepped back into the living room, trying to shake off the lingering sense of disappointment. Galina and Nina were deep in conversation, animatedly discussing their latest family escapades. I couldn't help but smile at their enthusiasm, even as a part of me felt disconnected. Amelia, you should really join in on this, Nina exclaimed, waving me over. We were just talking about that time at the family reunion, when you nearly burnt down the barbecue. Oh, please, I laughed, shaking my head. That was just one little incident. I thought I had everything under control. Galina chimed in, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Control? I distinctly remember smoke billowing out and everyone running for cover. Okay, you got me there, I admitted, rolling my eyes in jest. But it was a learning experience. As I settled into the conversation, I made a conscious effort to engage and enjoy the moment. I poured everyone another glass of wine, hoping the warmth of the alcohol would also warm my spirits. Here's to more cooking adventures. I raised my glass, trying to infuse my words with genuine cheer. To Amelia, the brave chef, Nina toasted, laughter bubbling over as we clinked glasses. With the food mostly finished and the atmosphere lightening, I shifted my focus to keeping the evening alive. Would anyone like dessert? I asked, looking for a way to add some excitement to the evening. Yes, please. I saw a chocolate cake in the kitchen earlier, Galina said, licking her lips at the thought. Ah, the chocolate cake. It's the crown jewel of my baking. I replied with a flourish. I'll go get it. Just give me a moment. I walked to the kitchen, taking a deep breath as I glanced at the chocolate cake sitting on the counter, a centerpiece I had made with care. I felt a surge of pride at its glossy surface, but even that pride was tinged with the awareness that David was missing out on this small moment of joy. Amelia, are you okay? Nana called from the living room, her voice cutting through my thoughts. Yeah, just grabbing the cake, I replied, forcing a smile as I returned to the living room with the dessert in hand. Wow, that looks incredible, Galina exclaimed as I set the cake down on the table. You really outdid yourself this time. Thank you. I hope it tastes as good as it looks, I said, trying to keep the smile from fading. I cut generous slices, each piece glistening with chocolate ganache, and served them to my guests. As we settled back into our chairs, I took a moment to breathe in the sweet aroma of the cake. All right, everyone, dig in. The first bites elicited delighted moans from both Galina and Nina. This is divine. Seriously, how do you make it so moist? Nina asked, her mouth full. Ah, it's all in the technique, I said, waving my hand like a seasoned chef. And maybe a dash of love. Galina laughed. You could give those fancy bakeries a run for their money. We'll have to keep you on speed dial for family gatherings. Only if I can take the day off from hosting. I joked, trying to suppress the mounting fatigue that had settled in my bones. As the evening wore on, I focused on playing the perfect hostess. I refilled glasses, checked in on their plates, and kept the conversation flowing, all while maintaining an upbeat demeanor. It felt like I was juggling plates, an effort to keep everything from crashing down around me. So, Amelia, have you thought about what you want to do for your birthday this weekend? Galina asked, leaning forward, her interest genuine. Oh well, I guess we'll see what David has planned, I replied, shrugging slightly, the reality of the situation stinging. Nina jumped in, eager to steer the conversation. You should definitely treat yourself. Maybe a spa day or a getaway somewhere. Yeah, that would be nice, I said, feeling the weight of their well-intentioned suggestions. But right now, I'm just trying to enjoy this moment. Exactly. Today is all about you, Galina said, her tone supportive. And even though David isn't here, we're here to celebrate you. Thank you, I appreciate that, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. The conversation flowed seamlessly, from family anecdotes to tales of old vacations. I laughed and engaged, but part of me remained distracted, thinking of David and the plans that might never happen. Hey, let's take a picture, Nina suggested suddenly, pulling out her phone. We need to capture this moment. I hesitated for a moment, the thought of a family picture without David tugging at my heart. But I knew it would mean a lot to Galina and Nina. Sure, let's do it, I said, putting on my brightest smile. Okay, everyone gather around, Nina directed, positioning us in front of the cake. As we posed, I felt a pang of sadness. David should be here, I thought, wishing he could share in this small celebration. Say cheese, Nina called, and as the picture snapped, I plastered on a smile, hiding the discontent swirling inside. Perfect. This is going to make a great memory, Nina said, glancing at the screen with satisfaction. Let's hope David gets to see it when he finally gets home, I said, trying to sound optimistic. As the evening continued, I did my best to keep up the facade of the perfect hostess, but the yearning for David's presence lingered like a shadow. Even surrounded by family, I felt a void that only he could fill. The laughter and chatter of the evening were wonderful, but without David, it felt incomplete. A birthday celebration playing out without its intended guest of honor. The evening wore on, with Galina and Nina recounting their favorite family stories, laughter ringing through the air like music. I tried my best to join in, laughing along and playing the role of the perfect hostess, but my heart felt heavy. As they reminisced about past gatherings, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, specifically David. Just as Galina launched into a particularly amusing story about David's childhood, I felt the weight of my emotions bubble to the surface. I needed a moment to breathe, to collect my thoughts away from the chatter. Excuse me for a moment, I said, smiling at my guests. I'll be right back. I slipped out to the balcony, the cool night air wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. The stars twinkled above, and I took a deep breath, savoring the stillness of the night. The chaos of the evening faded into the background, allowing me to think clearly for the first time all night. Amelia, came a familiar voice from behind me. It was Olivia, my closest friend, stepping out onto the balcony with a glass of wine in her hand. Hey, I just needed a little break, I replied, grateful for her presence. It's been a long evening. Olivia leaned against the railing, her expression turning serious. I could tell. How are you holding up with everything? I sighed, looking out at the night sky. Honestly, I feel like I'm putting on a show for everyone. I wanted today to be special. But without David here, it just feels empty. I get it, she said, her voice softening. It's hard when you expect a certain celebration and it turns out differently. But you've done an amazing job as a hostess. Thanks, but it's not the same, I admitted. I keep waiting for him to walk through the door, and I can't shake this feeling of disappointment. Olivia took a sip of her wine, her gaze steady. You deserve to feel celebrated, Amelia. Have you talked to him? Maybe he'll surprise you. I tried calling, but no answer, I said, glancing down at my phone, willing it to ring. I just wish he'd make an effort. It's my birthday, for heaven's sake. Maybe he's just swamped at work, Olivia suggested gently. But that doesn't mean he doesn't care. You know how he gets sometimes. I do, I said, running a hand through my hair in frustration. But it's like he doesn't realize that I need him too. Olivia leaned closer, her tone encouraging. Why don't you send him a text? Let him know how you're feeling. It might help to get it off your chest. I pulled out my phone, hesitating for a moment before typing a quick message. Hey David, I miss you. It's my birthday, and I really wish you were here. I hope you're okay. Send it, Olivia urged, her eyes sparkling with encouragement. I hit send, taking a deep breath. Okay, it's done. Now we wait. Just then, the sound of the door sliding open interrupted our moment. Galina peeked out, her expression brightening upon seeing me. There you are. We thought you'd disappeared. Just taking a little break, I said, trying to regain my composure. Come on, we were just about to play a game, she exclaimed, excitement radiating from her. It'll be fun. You have to join us. All right, I'm in, I replied, feeling a rush of determination. Maybe this was what I needed, a chance to shift my focus and be present with my family, even if David wasn't there. As we all settled back in the living room, I put on a brave face. What game are we playing? We're going to play Who Am I? Nana announced, holding up a stack of sticky notes. You write a name on a note, stick it on your forehead, and then ask yes or no questions to figure out who you are. I couldn't help but chuckle at the silliness of it all. That sounds like a blast. Exactly, Nana said, handing out sticky notes. This will be hilarious, trust me. We began, and soon the room was filled with laughter as each person took turns guessing their identity. I watched as Galina pretended to be a celebrity, her dramatic flair bringing the game to life. Am I an actress? She asked, her voice animated. Yes, Nina exclaimed. Do I have a famous partner? Galina continued, winking at me. Not that I know of, I chimed in, giggling. Ha, I must be single then, Galina joked, eliciting more laughter. As the game continued, I felt my spirits lift, the weight of the day slowly dissolving with every laugh shared. I was reminded that while David's absence was felt deeply, the love of family and friends was also a vital part of the celebration. When it was my turn, I carefully placed a sticky note on my forehead, unsure of the name I had chosen. Okay, ask away, I said, feeling the energy in the room shift toward me. Are you a real person? Galina asked. Yes, I replied, a smile growing on my face. Are you someone famous? Nina probed. Maybe, I teased, winking at Olivia. Is your last name a color? Galina continued, her excitement palpable. Oh, I know. You're a color, Nina exclaimed, laughing. Okay, I'm running out of questions here, I said, throwing my hands up in mock exasperation. I have to guess. Come on, Amelia, you can do this, Olivia cheered, her support enveloping me like a warm hug. After a few more guesses, I finally got it right, and the room erupted in cheers. I felt a rush of happiness, a reminder of the love surrounding me. For a moment, I forgot about my worries and embraced the joy of the evening. Even though David wasn't there, I realized that I could still find happiness in the love of my family and friends. As the game continued, I looked over at Olivia, who winked at me, silently encouraging me to keep pushing through. In that moment, I understood that even when things didn't go as planned, it was okay to celebrate life with those who cared for me. I just had to take it one moment at a time, and tonight I was determined to enjoy every single one of them. As the laughter from the game echoed through the living room, I felt a surge of relief wash over me. Perhaps the night wouldn't be a complete disappointment after all. But after a couple of rounds, I noticed that the energy in the room was starting to wane. Galina and Nina had engaged in a competitive round of guessing, but the excitement seemed to have shifted toward lingering conversations. I decided it was time to step into the kitchen to gather my thoughts and perhaps prepare a late-night snack. Maybe a little dessert would rekindle some energy and joy. I excused myself, slipping away from the chatter and heading into the kitchen. The moment I stepped inside, the familiar aroma of the various dishes lingered in the air. I opened the refrigerator, searching for anything sweet to serve, perhaps some leftover cookies or the cake I'd carefully stowed away. As I rummaged through the shelves, I heard footsteps behind me. "Mind if I join you?" Olivia asked, her voice light and inviting. "Of course, I could use some company," I replied, turning around to face her. I thought maybe I'd whip up a little midnight snack for everyone. "Good idea, but let's make it something a bit more exciting than leftover cake," she suggested with a grin. "How about some chocolate-dipped strawberries? They're quick and always a hit." "Perfect," I said, feeling a bit more energized at the thought of preparing something fun with her. As we worked together, washing the strawberries and melting chocolate in a small pot, I felt a sense of calm wash over me. The soft sound of the bubbling chocolate was comforting, and the kitchen began to feel like our own little world away from the gathering. "Amelia," Olivia said, carefully dipping the strawberries in the melted chocolate, "can I ask you something?" "Sure, what's on your mind?" I replied, focusing on my own strawberries, but my ears perked up. "Are you really okay with David not being here tonight? I mean, I know you wanted to celebrate with him," she said, her tone sincere. I hesitated, the question hanging in the air like the sweet aroma of chocolate. "I want to be okay," I admitted, letting out a soft sigh. "But I can't shake this feeling of disappointment. It's my birthday, and I had hoped for more, something special." Olivia paused, setting down the strawberry she was working on and looking at me intently. "Do you think he realizes how important this is to you?" "I hope so," I said, feeling my heart tighten. "But sometimes it feels like work is always more important to him than family." He didn't even make an effort to call or check in during the day. "I know he can get wrapped up in his job," Olivia replied thoughtfully. "But he loves you, Amelia. Maybe he's just lost in the chaos of it all." "I get that, but it doesn't make it any easier to accept," I said, my frustration bubbling to the surface. "I want to feel valued. I want him to make me a priority, even for just one night." Olivia nodded, her expression sympathetic. "That's completely valid. But have you talked to him about it? I mean, really talked?" I paused, my thoughts swirling. "Not really. I guess I keep hoping he'll just understand without me having to spell it out." "Communication is key," Olivia said gently, picking up another strawberry. "You shouldn't have to hide your feelings. He might not even realize how much this is affecting you." "You're right," I said, feeling a sense of clarity dawning on me. "I just need to be honest about my feelings, even if it's uncomfortable. And you can do it." "You're strong, Amelia," Olivia encouraged, dipping another strawberry into the chocolate and holding it up triumphantly. "And look at this, you're also a chocolatier now." I chuckled, the tension easing as I accepted the chocolate-covered treat she offered. "You might just be onto something there." We laughed and chatted as we decorated the strawberries, but Olivia's words lingered in my mind. I realized I had been so focused on what I wanted from David that I hadn't considered how I could better express my needs. I needed to communicate, to show him how much I valued his presence, not just on special occasions, but every day. Once the strawberries were ready, I put them on a plate and took a step back to admire our work. "These look amazing. I can't wait to see the look on their faces when we bring these out," I said, excitement bubbling inside me. "Let's get them back to the party," Olivia said, picking up the plate. As we walked back into the living room, I felt lighter. The laughter and chatter welcomed us like a warm embrace. I placed the plate of chocolate-dipped strawberries on the table, and the guest's eyes lit up. "Wow, these look incredible," Galina exclaimed, reaching for one. "You both are the best." "Seriously, Amelia, you outed yourself tonight." Nina added, her enthusiasm infectious. "Thank you." Olivia helped, I said, smiling at her. As we all enjoyed the strawberries, I felt a renewed sense of happiness. Even without David by my side, I had my friends and family to share in the joy. And in that kitchen, amidst laughter and chocolate, I realized that I could still celebrate my birthday in my own way, surrounded by love, even if it wasn't exactly what I had envisioned. While I still had thoughts about talking to David, I decided to let that be for another day. Tonight, I would enjoy every moment, knowing that with or without him, I was still worthy of celebration. The laughter and chatter filled the room as we all indulged in the chocolate-dipped strawberries. The atmosphere had transformed into one of warmth and camaraderie. I watched as my mother-in-law, Galina, animatedly recounted a story from David's childhood, her hands gesturing wildly, bringing the story to life. "Did I ever tell you about the time David tried to bake me a cake for my birthday?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "No, but I can only imagine," Nina chimed in, leaning forward, eager for the details. "Oh, it was a disaster," Galina laughed, shaking her head. "He was determined to surprise me, but he didn't read the instructions properly. Let's just say, the cake turned out more like a pancake." We all burst into laughter, and for a moment, I felt a pang of nostalgia wash over me. Hearing stories about David's childhood made me realize just how much he meant to everyone in the family. It also made me reflect on my own family traditions and the memories we had created over the years. After the laughter subsided, I took a moment to collect my thoughts. I noticed Olivia sitting beside me, her expression thoughtful as she surveyed the lively scene before us. "What's on your mind?" she asked, her voice soft, pulling me out of my reverie. "I was just thinking about how important these moments are," I replied, gesturing to the gathering. "Even when things don't go as planned, we still find ways to celebrate together." "Absolutely," Olivia agreed, her smile warm. "These moments are what make life meaningful, aren't they? The laughter, the stories, the shared meals. It's all part of the tapestry of family." I nodded, feeling a swell of gratitude. It's easy to forget that sometimes, especially when I'm wrapped up in my own disappointments. I wanted this birthday to be special, but I realize now that it's the connections that truly matter. Galina chimed in from across the room, her voice carrying over the chatter. "Amelia, you've always been a wonderful addition to our family. We appreciate you so much, even if you feel overlooked at times." Her words touched me deeply, and I smiled back at her. "Thank you, Galina. That means a lot. I guess sometimes I just wish for a little more recognition from David." "You deserve that and more," Olivia said firmly, her eyes steady on me. "But remember, it's also about how we communicate our needs. Have you thought about what you want to say to him?" "I have," I replied, feeling a mixture of hope and apprehension. "I want to express how important these moments are for me. Not just birthdays, but all the little things in between." "Then do it," Olivia encouraged. "You have every right to express your feelings. It's a celebration of you, after all." Just then, Galina wrapped up her story, and the room quieted. "And that's how David almost burned down the kitchen," she exclaimed, bringing laughter back into the air. "I swear he was never meant to be a baker." I found myself laughing along with everyone else, but a part of me lingered on the thought of David. I felt the weight of my disappointment begin to lift as I focused on the love surrounding me. As the evening continued, the conversation shifted to more serious topics, and I found myself reminiscing about family traditions. Growing up, my family would always gather for big dinners on special occasions, I said, taking a sip of my drink. We'd spend hours at the table, sharing stories and just being together. What a lovely tradition, Nina said, nodding. We should do that more often. Family dinners can be such a blessing. They really are, I agreed, my heart swelling at the thought. It's about the shared experience, the laughter, the food, the love. It's a reminder that we're all in this together. Maybe we can make it a point to gather more regularly, Kalina suggested. Life gets so busy, but we shouldn't lose sight of these moments. Count me in, Olivia said enthusiastically. I'll bring dessert every time. We all laughed, and the idea of regular family dinners began to take shape, planting a seed of hope and connection. I felt a renewed sense of purpose, a desire to nurture these relationships, to create a sense of belonging that stretched beyond just this birthday celebration. As the night wound down, I looked around the room, taking in the faces of those I loved. Despite my earlier disappointment, I felt a surge of gratitude. Each of these people had played a part in shaping my life, and even in David's absence, I could still celebrate the connections that mattered most. All right, everyone, I said, my voice ringing out over the conversation. Before we wrap up the evening, let's take a moment to toast. To family, to love, and to creating more memories together. Everyone raised their glasses, and I felt a warmth spread through me. To family, they echoed, their voices mingling in the air, filling the room with a sense of togetherness. As I raised my glass, I felt hopeful for what was to come. I knew there would be challenges ahead, particularly in my relationship with David, but I also knew that I had the love and support of my family and friends to help guide me through. Tonight had turned out to be a beautiful reminder of the power of connection. And with that realization, I felt ready to face whatever came next, because the essence of celebration lay not in the grand gestures, but in the simple act of being together, creating memories, and supporting one another through thick and thin. The glow of the evening lingered as the last of the guests began to leave. The laughter and warmth of the celebration still buzzed in the air, a sweet reminder of what had unfolded. I stood in the kitchen, tidying up the remnants of the evening, half-eaten plates of food, the remnants of chocolate-dipped strawberries, and glasses that still held a few drops of wine. Despite the cleanup, my heart felt light. Need a hand? Olivia asked as she walked in, her cheerful demeanor undimmed by the late hour. Just a little bit more to do. But thank you for offering, I replied, feeling grateful for her presence. I'm glad you stayed to help. I wouldn't miss it for the world, she said, grabbing a dishcloth and drying a few glasses I had just washed. You really pulled off a lovely evening, Amelia. I know it wasn't what you originally planned, but you made it special. I guess sometimes the unexpected turns out to be the best part, I said, reflecting on the night. I had my doubts about David not being here, but I really enjoyed the time with everyone else. That's the spirit. Life's too short to dwell on what didn't happen, she replied, a glint of mischief in her eyes. And hey, you might even want to embrace the idea of these surprise gatherings more often. I chuckled, drying my hands on the dishcloth. You're right, they can be delightful, even if they come with their own set of challenges. I just need to adjust my expectations. As we wrapped up the last of the cleaning, I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me, but it was mingled with satisfaction. The events of the evening had not just been a celebration of my birthday, but a turning point for me, a moment to reevaluate my perspective on family, love, and connection. Once the kitchen was finally tidy, I glanced at Olivia, who had started to make her way toward the door. You know, I've been thinking about how I want to approach my conversation with David, I said, my voice thoughtful. Good. What are you thinking? Olivia asked, leaning against the doorframe, her expression curious. I think I need to be honest about how I feel, I replied. Not just about tonight, but about everything, the way I feel overlooked, and the importance of us celebrating together. I've been holding back for too long, hoping he'd just know. Exactly, and remember, it's not about blaming him, but sharing your needs. Olivia encouraged, her tone supportive. You're allowed to express what you want and need in this relationship. I want to make sure he understands that I appreciate everything he does for our family, but I also want him to prioritize us, I said, the words flowing more easily now. I think if I explain how important our time together is to me, he'll get it. That's the spirit, Olivia said, her face lighting up. Just be open and honest, and you might be surprised by his reaction. I hope so, I said, feeling a mixture of apprehension and hope. It's just scary to lay my feelings out there, you know. I get it, but if he loves you as much as I believe he does, he'll want to make it work. Just give him the chance to understand. Olivia reassured me, her smile infectious. Thanks, Olivia. I really appreciate you being here for me tonight, I said, warmth swelling in my chest. I'm lucky to have you in my corner. I'm always here, Amelia, she said, stepping closer to give me a quick hug. Now go get some rest. You deserve it after all that hard work tonight. After she left, I took a moment to bask in the silence of my home. The decorations from the party still hung cheerfully around the room, and the scent of food lingered faintly in the air. I felt a sense of peace settle over me as I contemplated the conversation ahead. That night, as I crawled into bed, I reflected on my relationship with David. It was true that I had often felt like an afterthought, but I also recognized the love and care he put into our family life. I wanted him to understand my perspective, but I also wanted to hear his side. As I closed my eyes, I envisioned the conversation we would have, a dialogue rooted in honesty and vulnerability. I realized that this was a chance for us to grow together, to strengthen our bond. The next morning, I woke up feeling refreshed. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, illuminating the room in a warm glow. I quickly made my way to the kitchen to brew a pot of coffee, eager to start the day. Just as the aroma filled the air, I heard the front door creak open. My heart leaped at the sound of footsteps. David walked in, looking slightly disheveled but undeniably relieved to be home. "Good morning, love," he said, his voice thick with sleep. "I'm so sorry for last night. I didn't think it would run so late." "It's okay," I replied, my voice calm. "I had a great time with everyone, but we need to talk about how we celebrate things like birthdays together." David looked at me, his brow furrowing with concern. "Of course, let's talk." As we sat down at the kitchen table, I took a deep breath, feeling a wave of determination wash over me. Today was not just about my birthday. It was about us finding our way back to each other, forging a deeper understanding of our needs and expectations. And in that moment, I felt a renewed sense of hope. This was the beginning of a new perspective, one that embraced both the joy of celebration and the importance of connection. Together, we would navigate the complexities of our relationship, allowing room for growth, love, and understanding. If you liked my story, please like and subscribe. This will be the best reward for me.